I think I need to work perhaps on time management because I juggle so many things. It sometimes tends to feel overwhelmed.
Sorry to interrupt. So
Sure.
on the point about time management, which is certainly quite concerning, are you doing anything to work on it?
Interviews, they can be the most nerve-wracking part of any job application process.
So what are the toughest interview questions and how can you prepare for them? I put myself to the test.
Hi Andrea, how are you today?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm very well, thank
That's
you.
great.
Career coach Yen put me through the paces of a mock interview, asking common questions she says job seekers tend to trip over the most. First, the common introduce yourself question. Yen said recruiters are not looking to hear a recap of your resume or your personal life. Instead, show enthusiasm and showcase your personal brand. Focus on why you're the best person for the job you're interviewing for.
The thing about the introduction question is that it rarely ever comes across as, so tell me about yourself, right? So sometimes they would ask, walk me through your background, or tell me something that's not on the resume. Or sometimes an interviewer might say, so why are you here?
This is what I had answered.
Well, I've been mostly in the media scene. It's something that I've always loved ever since I was a kid. It was something that I really enjoyed, talking to people, telling stories, getting stories out of people.
So very quickly, when you were introducing yourself, you were very spot on in identifying the key elements that defines your brand. Okay, so what an interviewer would like to hear as part of your introduction is what brings you here, not just who I am. It'd be better and tighter if you started by saying I've done a lot of A, I've done a lot of B, and I've also worked on C.
Right.
And I've always had a strong affinity for XYZ, which draws me to this role. Because it's got these elements that I've been very interested in and I've always been keen on.
Okay.
So then it immediately tells me you love me. that this is a role you want.
The same goes for questions about your strengths. Make sure you link them to how this makes you a great fit for the role you're hoping to land.
I wrote in my notes that I was looking for commercial impact. So if you were good at putting people at ease and getting information out of them, and then I asked, tell me a story about that, remember? And then you told a nice personal story, which was great, and I still did not feel like how that would add any major impact to the role.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah. So focus on what that would mean, like how that would impact the opportunity and me as your potential hiring manager.
So you're looking for...
When it comes to questions about weaknesses, Yen was not too pleased with my answer.
Can you tell me about an area that you'd like to work on to improve?
I think I need to work perhaps on time management because I juggle so many things. It sometimes tends to feel overwhelmed.
Now, the negative question is very tricky only because I was asking for a weakness, but I remember phrasing it for an area for development. But you declared a weakness.
Right.
And I'm not sure if you would have seen my expression because I heard time management and I got very concerned because if I'm a hiring manager looking to hire you and you would bring with you some time management issues and that could probably be risky for me. The thing is all of us are work in progress. So a quick tip is not to declare that weakness and just focus on an area for improvement, which means that it is something that you're looking to work on to improve. You're pretty good at it, but it could always be better.
Right.
So time management, for instance, instead of saying I have time management issues and I am worried about bandwidth, and I'm like thinking, okay.
Your alarm bells go out.
Right? So now I'm thinking, so a better answer would be, well, I'm working on improving how I manage my workflow.
Right.
I'm looking to improve how I manage my time.
So it's almost like reverse psychology.
If you're asked about your salary at the interview stage, make sure you've researched market rates properly and be confident of your proposal. Yen said I sounded like I was negotiating with myself in my answer.
Can I ask your salary expectations if you were to be offered this position?
Right. Obviously, I would expect a little bit more, perhaps 20% more from what I'm currently earning. I do understand that it's quite a jump, but I feel it corresponds to the skill set that I have.
Yeah,
Like that.
many people have a tendency to negotiate with themselves.
Yeah.
And when they negotiate with themselves, the interviewer is going to be able to see that, okay, this person wants the role. They're quite desperate.
Right.
Well, maybe I can play around with that figure a little bit and not give them as much as I might want to.
So if that's the case, is less information better?
I think it's okay to allude to what would commensurate with the role and responsibility that comes with that increase. Connect to the commercial impact
Right.
again. So when you say, well, I want to justify this because of the amount of revenue I'm going to help you bring in, or the number of eyeballs I can help your organization get, or the increase in the reputation of the organization, that would make sense.
So Yen, remember the question you asked about the gap in my CV and you thought my answer was fine? How would other people, or how should other people tackle this question if there isn't, say, a compelling reason like mine to respond to it?
So one very important tip, I guess, is for you to embrace that gap, because it is what it is. And so yes, there was a gap in my career. I took the time to do something. So don't have that become a defensive position to say, well, I didn't do anything. I spent a whole year looking for work. I couldn't find anything. And then it becomes kind of, a spiral to despair, right? Yeah. So if you did have a career break, you can always talk about some of the things that you did that was self-actualizing. For instance, you volunteered, you helped out in your friend's business, you picked up new skills, you've got more exposure in a variety of areas, all of which adds to who you are today. I think what we want to do is to showcase that we have a positive outlook. We're constantly a work in progress and we're learning.
Yeah. So Yen, what would be some absolute no-go questions in an interview?
Well, the biggest one is what's the work-life balance culture like
Oh
here?
no!
Do I have to come into the office every day?
Right.
These are pertinent, but certainly not appropriate during the first round interview, especially with your hiring manager. You can always ask these questions to HR or to the recruiter at a later stage.
I'm not gonna lie, I may be a presenter by profession, but that interview was nerve-wracking. But you know what? Having Yen give me all that feedback has given me confidence to ace my next interview.
Got more questions about interviews or getting your next job? Share them with us at this email address.